FASCA. Hope you guys are all doing well and having fun with your chapter. Hopefully most of you guys have received the last parcel sent in by FASCA Nationals and have all conducted your first official FASCA meeting. Today we have a fun presentation on finance and fundraising brought to you by the FASCA National Board. This presentation is to educate you and also help you out with some of the upcoming events that we have. So last time, Wilson assigned some very lofty assignments for the months of October and November. A lot of them have to do with fundraising and also finance. Some of you might feel a little overwhelmed, but hopefully after this presentation you guys will feel much more ready and equipped with the necessary resources to go forward. So when you saw that you needed to plan and announce a new fundraiser, create a financial plan, and also secure 3 sponsorships, some of you guys might have freaked out. But calm down. I'm here to give you some tips and advice that will hopefully make your life a little bit easier with fundraiser, donation, and sponsorship best practices, resource, ideas, and tips. So buckle up because you're in for a ride. But before I dive into our presentation, let me introduce myself. I'm right here. My name is Tammy. Some of you guys might be familiar with me and know me from the FASCA training this past summer. But for those of you who don't, I am a teacher who works at FASCA National, and I'm here to help support your chapters and make sure that all chapters are running smoothly. Okay, after that, first things first. Why do we need to fundraise? Why do we need to get sponsorships and donations? Otherwise termed as Fundraising Nation. Fundraisers, sponsorship, donations will help support annual events such as your chapter retreats, recruitment open house, guest speaker events, volunteer events, and also operations. So throughout the year, FASCA has these set events for you that you have to conduct. And we might add some or subtract some. But to put these on, you always need resources. For example, for recruitment open house, you might need some snacks. And you don't have to pay for those snacks with your own money. You can actually get donations and also sponsorships. And you can also fundraise so that you can buy these snacks. Also with chapter retreats, try to fundraise all that money so that you can go with your chapter on a chapter retreat. Volunteer events, you need food, you need parents to drive you. How do you compensate for that gas money? And also day-to-day operations. For example, what if you have to print out meeting agendas? They may seem cheap, but you can also fundraise for that. You can also fundraise to pay for different booklets or different agendas or different pieces of paper, whatever else you need to help make sure that your chapter is running efficiently. Fundraising Nation 101. You can practically get everything you need for an event through Fundraising Nation. You can get money, you can get food, and you can get stuff. It's pretty obvious how money can be very useful in running an organization and also putting on these events. You can basically use money to buy the resources you need to put on your event. But how and where do you get that money? A lot of you guys are familiar with different fundraising tactics, but I'm going to go through them just in case there are people in the group that aren't familiar with them. So, moneymakers, there are 2 types. There's the sales type fundraisers, and there's also event type fundraisers. We're going to start with the sales type fundraiser. So an example of a sales type fundraiser could be a bake sale, candy sale, ticket sales. The definition is pretty self-explanatory. You are selling something to make money in order to fund some event that you're trying to put on. So sales type fundraisers will bring in cash, but this also requires a lot of upfront investment and also a lot of planning. This means that there are some risks involved in sales type fundraisers. So, for example, if I was conducting a candy sale, I would actually have to buy that candy in advance, go to Costco or something, buy it in bulk, and then sell that candy at a markup in order to make back my money, in order to fundraise for the cause. So if we don't sell all the candy, or if we price the candy wrong, we could actually lose money and actually, be at a loss for this type of fundraisers. Therefore, in order to make a sales-oriented fundraiser successful, you need a very solid financial plan, implementation plan, and ongoing effort. So a financial budget basically tells you how much money you spent to buy the materials for your sales-oriented fundraiser, and therefore how much do you have to sell in order to break even, and how much you have to sell in order to make money. So for example, maybe I buy in bulk a huge pack of M&Ms from Costco for 12 little M&M bags for 12 M&M bags for maybe $4. I would have to sell the 4 M&Ms, the 12 M&Ms for $1 each, and then I can make a hefty profit. So a financial budget will help you map that out. Implementation plan is basically how are you going to implement your sales fundraiser? How are you going to distribute your candy amongst your chapter? How are you going to collect the candy or collect the money that was sold? And how are you going to keep track of everything? Ongoing effort means how are you going to motivate your members and also the team to keep on selling. Keep on selling until you've sold out of candy and reached your fundraising goal. So those are all things to think about. So another money fundraiser is event-oriented. So event-oriented fundraisers are like carnivals, talent shows, run-a-thons. These type of fundraisers are fun because you get to do them as a group, and they are fun in the sense that it doesn't take an ongoing effort, but one huge push. So these are fun and festive and can also bring in a lot of cash all at once. The thing about the event fundraisers is that it does require extensive planning and also upfront investment. The ability to execute according to plans and also react quickly to crises will be the key to a successful event. So there are risks attached to events. So for example, if you put on the talent show, you spend 3 months planning, but no one comes to the talent show, then obviously that is the risk, and also then you don't make back the money for the effort that you put in for the event. So to make sure that the event is successful, you need to make sure you have your financial budget again. Make sure you have a project plan. So what is this event going to look like? How is this talent show going to run? How are you going to go out and recruit different talent to perform? How are you going to go out and let everyone know about this talent show? And how are you going to sell tickets to the talent show? That's all part of the project plan. And then you have the implementation plan. Implementation plans are used at the day of the event to make sure that your event is running smoothly. So this has to be a timeline-based implementation plan saying, okay, 12 that details out, okay, 12 o'clock, everyone's going to arrive at the venue and set up and decorate. At 1 o'clock, everyone needs to be done decorating and be in their positions for the event. 2 o'clock, people start filling in, and 2:30, the event starts. Everything needs to be planned to a T for these events. Successful event-oriented fundraisers also require ongoing effort. The planning portion of the event is really the bulk work of the event. The other ongoing effort is, getting the word out, the marketing side, letting people know that you're putting on a talent show, letting people know that you're putting on a carnival so that they come or buy tickets. All right. The other stuff that you can fundraise or get sponsorships and donations for are food and stuff. So why do we need food and stuff? So a lot of times when we put on events such as recruitment open house, it's really great to have snacks out for the people who are visiting the open house to keep them, entertained and also keep their bellies full, which will attract them to stay longer at your event. Stuff includes, Sharpies, pens, markers, whatever thing you need to put on your event. Stuff can also include things such as presents or prizes for an auction, or a silent auction, or a raffle. All of these can help enhance your event and also help you bring in more money for the organization. So what I call this is resource raising. Resource raising can be done through donations and sponsorships. So how do you get these donations, and also how do you get these sponsorships? I would say that there are two main ways. One is through cold calling, which is picking up the phone, calling up local businesses, and requesting different donations or sponsorships. And the second is through a letter of request, which is writing to local businesses to request food, stuff, or even money. So, like I said, they can come in monetary or substantive contributions. Donations have no risk because there isn't an upfront investment, but it might take more effort and also courage in drafting these letter requests and also cold calling local businesses. To make sure that you are successful in your donation and sponsorship campaigns, you have to make sure you have a goal. You have to have request letters, target lists. You have to be able to track your progress, and also you have to have thank you letters. So let's start with goals. A lot of you guys know how to set goals, but do you guys know how to set SMART goals? SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and also timely. Make sure that your goal is specific. For example, if my goal is to put on a successful fundraising event, that's not really specific enough because you're not really defining what successful fundraising means. So that kind of brings us to our next point, which is measurable. Make sure that your goal is measurable in the sense that when I say my goal is to put on a successful fundraising event, I have to be able to measure that success. So put on a successful fundraising event that raises $500. That's something that's measurable because if you have or have not, whether or not you have or have not reached that fundraising goal, you can tell. It's not like a guess, yeah, that feels like that was successful. No, you can actually say, yes, we did hit that $500 goal, or no, we didn't hit that $500 goal. Therefore, we are successful or not successful. A stands for attainable. So when I say attainable, it's really to set our expectations in a very realistic manner. So is it realistic to set the goal of candy sales bringing in $50,000 a week? I don't think so. and it's important to put on attainable fundraisers because, if it's unattainable, it's really hard to aim for that goal. It's really hard to motivate people toward that goal because they feel like they could never attain it, so therefore why try? So to put on attainable fundraising goals, you have to think about several different things. How much money did you guys spend on the event? For example, if it is a candy sale, how many pieces of candy can you sell in a day? How many pieces of candy do you think you can sell in a week? So therefore, if you want to set a goal for a candy sale fundraiser, it's really easy or it's a good idea to think about, all right, so if I can sell 5 pieces of candy in a day, and I can probably do that for 5 days out of 7, that means I can sell 25 pieces of candy, each at $1, which means I can be fundraising $25 a week. So therefore, if I set my goal at a little bit higher, at making $30 a week, that's very attainable as opposed to $50,000. R stands for relevant. So that means if you're setting a goal for fundraising, then make sure the goal is about fundraising and not about, let's say, how many Slurpees you can drink in 1 minute. Finally, timely. Timely puts a timeline on your goal. So rather than just saying the goal is to fundraise $50,000 or the goal is to fundraise for $500, you have to put a timeline on that. The goal is to fundraise $500 within 2 months, and that will help you place a sense of urgency on the fundraiser and also give you a very smart goal to go after. letters. So a lot of times when you call local businesses and tell them about your organization and also ask them or tell them what exactly you're requesting from them, they will either say, yes, come and get it, or they'll say, hey, why don't you submit a request letter? So here are some best practices on how to draft the sponsorship or donation requests. It consists of 3 components, and this is very easy. I mean, all of you guys have written letters before and also written essays at school. So this should come very simply. The first component is the introduction, second the request, and then third the closure. Within the introduction, you have to introduce yourself. Let them know who you are. So if I was writing a letter to Domino's Pizza to get some pizza donations for one of our events so that we can auction off their pizza, I will tell them, my name is Tammy. What organization do you represent? I represent FASCA. And why am I writing? I am writing to them because I want to put in a request for some pizza sponsorship and also pizza donations for an auction that we're having. So that kind of bridges us into the request. Exactly what are you asking for? Yes, you're asking for pizza, but how many? Why do you need it? What is this sponsorship for? What are you going to use the pizza for? And if it is for an auction, where's the money going? Is it just going to go to a personal piggy bank, or is it for a greater cause? So you have to explain that in order to convince people to help you and also sponsor and submit a donation for you. Finally, the last part of the request is to explain why they were targeted. So, maybe they're a local business, maybe they're an admired business, maybe you like their product, or maybe you simply know the owner or the manager. Finally, the closure. The closure is very important because that is the last impression that you leave them with. So what you should include in the closure is where they can find more information. Maybe you have a website for the event that you're looking for sponsorships for. Include that website link so that they can check it out themselves. Within the closure, you should also include your contact information in case they have any questions for you. And finally, and the most important thing is that, in your closure, make sure you acknowledge that you used up their time and that you appreciate them for taking the time to just even review your review your request. So, additional best practices in drafting a sponsorship request. Number 1, keep it concise. So, a lot of these people you're sending letters to or getting on the phone with are very, very busy. Make sure that your request is no more than 1 page double-spaced. And that way, they don't have to flip through 5 pages to get to really, why you're writing to them. Second, and very, very important, is be polite. You're asking them for something, you're asking them to do you a favor. It's always great to be very grateful and also very polite, rather than demanding. And the final best practice, which is actually the hardest one, is to follow up. It seems really easy. Follow-up just means, calling them back or sending them another letter to make sure that they receive the first one, and make sure that, your request is really on their mind. So following up with whether or not they are thinking about donating or whether or not they've rejected you is really important. Follow-up also shows persistence. And a lot of times, you showing persistence in trying to get their donation and sponsorship will really inspire them to do so. Target lists. So whenever you're doing local calls for requests or even sending out letters, it's really important that one business or one person doesn't receive 5 different letters from 5 different people. So it's really important that the organization or that your fundraising group stays really organized so that, me and Wilson don't call the same exact pizza company for pizza donations within the same week, because they might get annoyed and hence lower your chances of actually getting donations from them. So to create a target list, there are several components you need. One is name of the individual organization or company that you're submitting the request to. Within that, you have to make sure you know who your main contact is. So for example, if I'm calling Google to ask for some monetary donations, on the target list, I should write down who my main contact is. That way, and the reason for that is because Google is such a big company, you have no idea who you actually talk to. And it would just be a lot of extra work to try to locate that person again, or try to find that person through a directory when you forgot their names. Address. This includes email and also snail mail. So whether you send your letters via email or snail mail, make sure you have that address on hand. And also phone number. This is so that you can follow up your first letter or call. Make sure that you have their phone number documented. So where do you find all this stuff? You can actually find these components to fill out your target list through online resources such as Google, Bing, or Yelp. You can even use the Yellow Pages, even though that's a little bit outdated. And also, feel free to use your personal contacts. A lot of you guys might know a lot of local business owners, and you can definitely reach out to them because they're probably the ones that are most willing to help you. So right here, I have a sample template of what a target list looks like. So for example, if I wanted to put in a request for Burger King, maybe I reached out to Jane Doe, and their address is 1 Whopper Drive. And I have their email here, and also phone number. Right here is really important, contact owner. So this contact owner is Burger King, and this contact owner is actually Wilson. So that alerts me, or lets me know that I shouldn't call Burger King again because Wilson's called them already. Notes, also know what you're asking for. So for Burger King, it's food donation for this event. For Microsoft, maybe it's a sponsorship event. A sponsorship for another event. That way, 5 weeks later, when you don't remember who's responsible for what, you can always look back on this contact list or target list to keep track of who's in charge of what. Alright, so far that's it for the fundraising part, fundraising, donation, and sponsorship part. Now about the financial plan. Financial plans are very important because it makes sure that an organization has the budget to put on all the events and activities it plans for the year. So it makes sure that if you guys only have $500 in your account, you're not overspending it, and that you have enough money to plan all 5 events that you guys are required to throughout the year. If you've never made a financial plan, don't worry. FAFSA has financial planning templates and budget templates for you. All you have to do is fill them out. Also, later in the month, we will also be making new tutorials on how to use these budget templates. And this is more targeted at your VPs of Finance and Treasurers. And after they go through the training, they will let you guys know how to use these budget templates and also financial planning templates. Oops. And this is what it's going to look like. Just a quick snapshot. But don't be intimidated because we will go through all of this in a later session. Thanks, guys!